worked in two separate preschool facilities that could not have been more different from each other. The first one which I worked was run by people who did not implement a strict schedule. They valued punishment rather than positive reinforcement, and they emphasized correction after the fact rather than utilizing pre-corrections. The second facility I worked in was run by people who implemented a strict schedule. They emphasized positive reinforcement, and they asked us to utilize pre-corrects. The difference in behavior of the children between the two centers is astounding, but it is not shocking. For children to be able to learn, they need an effective learning environment. It is important for children to have a strong educational foundation, and this begins in the formative preschool years. I have worked as a preschool teacher for 2 years and have attended countless trainings on early childhood development, so I know firsthand which strategies will work best and which will not. There are 3 fundamental components to an effective learning environment. These components are providing positive reinforcement, providing a consistent routine, and utilizing pre-corrects. The best way to get children to do what you want them to is to fill them with positive reinforcement. Tell them what you like that they're doing. Tell them which behaviors you prefer to see, so then they can continue showing you those behaviors. Think of filling children with positive reinforcement like filling a gas tank. Children, just like cars, need that boost to keep them going. When they run out of gas, they're not going to keep going. You have to keep telling them what you like that they're doing. They need that positive encouragement. Let's say you pull up to a gas tank and without thinking you put in diesel instead of gasoline in your gasoline car. What's going to happen? Your car will stop going after a few miles. Putting diesel in a gasoline car is like punishing a child after they've displayed a behavior that you dislike. While they will stop doing that behavior, they will not continually stop it because they don't know what behavior you prefer to see. Giving them positive reinforcement helps them know what behavior it is that you like so they can continue doing it. There are 2 important things to remember when giving positive reinforcement. The first is to be direct. Make sure the child that you're speaking to knows you're talking to them. Address them by name. Jimmy, I really like how you fill in the blank. The second is to be specific. They need to know specifically what behavior they did that made you happy so they can continue to do that behavior. Jimmy, I really like how you sat quietly without being asked. Now Jimmy knows that not only did he sit quietly and that made you happy, but he did it without being asked. He can continue to show you that behavior because he knows what exactly it was that made you happy. When children are filled with positive reinforcement, they feel that they can trust you and you've started a bond with them. When you have a bond with children, they will listen to you and they are in a position where they can begin learning. The best way for children to learn is on a schedule. When they know what's happening, they feel safe. They need a consistent schedule without deviation. When you deviate from your schedule, they no longer know what's happening and things can become chaotic. Children like to know what's going to happen so they can plan for the next event, so they feel secure. When a child is sitting at reading time and they feel hungry, they can think, what comes after reading? And if you have a strict schedule, they know how many things they can count until lunchtime and they can eat. When a child decides that they miss their parent, they can think, okay, I have lunch, then I have nap, then I have snack, then I have recess, and mom's here because they have a schedule that's been followed. The security helps them be in a position where they can learn because they can focus on what you're teaching them. Seamless transitions are key to a schedule. A transition is any point in time in which there's a break from your activity. So if you're working on an art project and 3 of your students are done and the rest of the class is still working, those students need to know what they can do in the time between art and the next activity. So if you have a schedule where they know, when I finish, I need to go read a book, then they can go read a book and there's no disrupting the other children who are still working. Seamless transitions can be accomplished through verbal direction and nonverbal cues. Verbal direction would be, Jimmy, when you have finished your art project, you can come sit in the carpet and read. A nonverbal cue could be shutting off the lights. When you shut off the lights, the children know, okay, it's time to clean up and we are transitioning. When you ring a bell, the children know what they're supposed to do. It is important to give 5-minute warnings for children so that the children who do not do well with transitions can begin preparing themselves for the change. When children are on a schedule and they're learning, it's easy to start forgetting our most important aspect of a effective learning environment, our positive reinforcement. Children need to continually be positive reinforced. It's easy to become frustrated when they deviate from an unchanging expectation. But if we want to continue seeing behaviors that we like, we need to continue telling them which behaviors we like. A pre-correct is any statement that corrects a behavior before it occurs. An example of this would be, you're getting ready to line up and you tell your students, or you ask them, what behaviors do I expect to see when we line up? They now feel in control because they know what they're supposed to do to make you happy. So they can continue making those behavioral choices that are positive. If you punish them when necessary, they become upset and they're no longer focused on the activity that you're doing. So it's important to try and use a pre-correct first to correct that behavior before it occurs, and they can continue focusing on their learning activity. There are several strategies that work with children, and some techniques will work with one child and not with another. These fundamental components that I've explained to you today are universal strategies that will work in any setting. Children love to know that they are making you happy and that they're doing a good job, which is what positive reinforcement does for them. They love the security of a schedule, and they love to be in control, which is what pre-corrects help them feel. These fundamental components will help you build the most effective learning environment.